Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. And before you ask, yes, I am wearing a Valencia top. That is what I'm wearing. And don't bother with the comments saying, Ryan, you traitor, you blah blah, you bastard, this, that, the next thing. No, none of that, right? This is going to bring us good luck. This is me showing respect to the opponents in a month's time. And because of this, we're going to shag them. So anyway, today's video is a video that I've actually been promising for like over a week now. And I'm finally getting down to making it. It's a video which can be taken into different opinions from everyone. A lot of people are going to maybe agree with me, a lot of people might disagree with me, and a lot of people might throw in suggestions that I have completely left out whatsoever. But this is going to be a video of players who I think should leave Celtic over the next 6 months, and preferably within the January, well, in the case for most of them. Preferably in this January transfer window, but certainly over the next 6 months between this transfer window and the next, for many reasons. We'll get down to the reasons when we talk about each player and why I think they should go. Now, this is considering we bring in players to replace them and we increase the depth in the squad. I'm not just saying get rid of them and then do nothing, because at the end of the day, we've got to have backups, we've got to have depth, we've got to have first team quality as well. So if we get rid of these players, it's under the guarantee that we would have other players to fill that void if they were to leave. So this is purely my opinion. You may agree with me, you might disagree with me. There's names that I might use that you don't want me to put in. There might be names that you feel like I should have put in that I've not and I've overlooked. But these are players I just feel like their time at Celtic is over. And we'll discuss the reasons why. It can come down to many reasons. And I'm not saying I hate these players and I hate their guts and they don't deserve to beat Celtic and blah blah. I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I'm not bitter towards my own players. Anybody who plays for Celtic I respect the club. But ultimately, you know, for the good of the team, you know, you need to have the right players and the right quality. And these are players who I just don't feel like make up those qualities. So, let's get started. We're going to start from back to front. Moving from front to back. No, back to front. I was right the first time. Anyway, let's just go right into it. Right, so the first player on the list is Jack Hendry. No more has to be really said. I've never been a fan of him. People on the channel know my opinions on him. And once again, can I just reiterate the point? I do respect each player. It's not like if I seen them out in the street I would sit and shout abuse at them, or even at a football game I wouldn't shout abuse at them because they're a Celtic player. But Jack Hendry, since the day he's joined Celtic, has just not been good enough. I know he's young, I know he can develop, but it was one of those signings, even the minute we signed him, was like, Jack Hendry? Why exactly? Because I never thought he was that impressive a player at Dundee, never mind Celtic. And he's had his chances kind of thrown in about there when players have been injured. Obviously our centre-backs haven't stayed the fittest over the past like year and a half. Injuries have been popping up all the time, here and there. But Jack Hendry is just ultimately not good enough to play for Celtic. Yes, he could leave and maybe he might develop into a player who would be good enough to play for Celtic, but right now he's not shown that quality. It's been shown up too many times. I can only remember one game where I've said, you know what, Jack Hendry actually played well today. One time. I feel like a lot of people might say I've been harsh on him, and I am harsh on him throughout his Celtic career, but he's just not good enough. And it's as simple as that. We need centre-halves who are good enough, first domestically, never mind Europeanly. Europeanly? That is not a word. But you know what, in Europe, you know, we need players that are good enough to cover in all competitions, and he's just not good enough. So it's a shame. He's still a young guy. He's a Scottish international. He's had caps for Scotland. Well, he's been called up to the national team. Sometimes you just think to yourself, how is he playing for Celtic? We really need to think about replacing him. Second player is plain and obvious, and we're talking about Marvin Compper. Needs to go. There's rumours he could be going in January. I don't see it happening. I think he will be here by the end of the window. Where is he? Like, where possibly can he be? Because he's not at Celtic by the looks of things. And we're talking about a player here who's probably making upwards of £20,000. When you think about that, that is a tremendous waste. Marvin Compper, there's not much else to add. Why is he at Celtic? Why? We need to get rid of him. Whether that is to terminate his contract, which would probably include a compensation fee, I suppose. We just need to get rid of him. Just get rid somehow. I mean, I can't even say anything about his performances because he's played about 4 games at most. So, Compper, see you later. The next player is someone who I feel like a lot of people may actually disagree with. But I feel like the time has come and I've finally decided my decision on the guy. I think Dedryck Boyata should leave Celtic. He doesn't look interested. He doesn't look as though he wants to be at the club. And I think the 1-0 defeat to Rangers last month really solidified that. It just didn't look as though he had any energy or passion to be at Celtic. He looked lifeless. And he's a player who's very hot and cold. And for the price tags that were thrown about in the summer where he was linked with teams like Fulham, we should jump at that and take it, because ultimately he's a player as well who his contract is going to run out and we could potentially get nothing from him. So I think we should try and get a shot of him as soon as possible, whether it be now or in the summer if he sees out the season here, because granted, yes, partnered with Benkovic, he has looked solid, he's looked strong, and he's proven me wrong many a times, but there's still times he just looks a shadow of the player we know he can be. This is someone who went to the World Cup in the summer, God knows how, once again, that is confusing to me, but I just don't feel like he wants to beat Celtic. I don't feel like his passion is there to play for the club. I think he sees himself in the Premier League, and that's where he wants to be. And we should let him go there. We should take the money. If we could get upwards of £5-6 million for Dedryck Boyata, we should be biting the hand off, because he's not a £9 million player, which was the price that Fulham are throwing around in the summer. Apparently, he's not that much of a player. He's got far too many mistakes in him, far too much complacency. He's not consistent. When he plays his best, he's fantastic, and he could be a Premier League player. But how often do you see his best? That's the question, and I just think we could benefit from the money. He gets a big wage as well, but mostly the transfer fee we should be accepting for Dedryck Boyata. I feel a lot of you will be expecting me to see Mikael Lustig, but I'm not actually going to say Lustig. I think he should remain at the club until we have a sufficient amount of right backs who can play football. The next one is Nir Bitton, purely because where is he? What's happened there as well? Bit like Marvin Compper, he seems like an entity at this point. Feel like we're never going to see him ever again. Granted, I remember hearing he went down with a big injury, but he's never going to recover from it and be back in the Celtic team. Not a chance. So why keep a hold of him? Once again, a player who probably makes a decent wage off Celtic. If we could let go of him, we could relieve that back into the wage budget, sign better players. He's never going to get back in the Celtic first team. I don't feel like we need him for depth in the central midfield area. We've got Brown, we've got Cham, we've got Christie, we've got Roger, we've got McGregor. We've got some young guys who'll be ready to come in soon. We'll probably sign more players. We've got Christie. He's not needed. Malumbu's in there as well, actually. I forgot about him. We don't need Nir Bitton, and we should just look to get rid of him. It's as simple as that. Another player who I respect for, the kind of what he's done over the past few years at Celtic, and the fact he's been there through a bit of success and such, but he's never been a great player, and we can certainly have better than him around. So I wouldn't mind seeing him go off, relieve that wage, as I said. The penultimate player I am going to mention on this list, another one may take a lot of people by surprise, but I feel like it is time for him to go. It's Scott Sinclair. Give him at the end of the season, I'd say. But I don't see why we should keep him. I really don't. Granted, I don't think we'd make a lot of money off him, but what we would make up for is a lot of wages. This is a player who's on maybe 25-30 grand a week, I'm sure, if he's on at Celtic. Probably the highest paid player at the club. And he has not performed over the last year and a half. No consistency. Pops up every now and then. Yes, I understand he carries a lot of flair and creativity, and when he plays his best, he's a massive player for Celtic. But we can find someone who is probably much younger. The telly's going off, it's not again. We can probably find someone who's a lot younger, with the same amount of flair and talent, create difficulty for defenders' lives. Scott Sinclair's got to the point where he's far too predictable in the Scottish Premiership, and he's ready to move on. He's done all he can at Celtic, I think. It doesn't look as though he's offering us anything. He got a hat-trick against Aberdeen late last month. You think to yourself, this is time for him to kick on and do something, but then against Rangers 3 days later, he's shite. And I feel like that is a story with Scott Sinclair. He gives you so much hope, shows you a glimmer of something, and then it's gone for the next run of 15 games. And for £25,000 a week, he is not justifying it. Not at all. It's a shambles that we're giving that out. It's a crime. It's close to theft, if you ask me. So I'd certainly get rid of Scott Sinclair. I think we could do better. Bring in money. Sign a prolific left winger. And all will be remembered for everything they gave us in that first season. Final name I'm going to mention is not someone who is actually included in the list. It's a wild card. I want to hear your opinions. I've not really came up with an opinion yet if I think he should stay or should go. So I'm just going to mention his name. The actual list is finished. That's everyone I think should leave Celtic. Should Olivier and Cham be sold by Celtic between now and the end of the season? That's a question I pose. Leave your answer in the comments. A lot of people don't think Cham should stay at Celtic. He's lost his touch. He's not as good as what he was last year. Once again, the same situation with Boyata. Does he look as hungry? Does he look as passionate for the badge? Does he want to be at Celtic? Has Moussa Dembele leaving shown him what is waiting for him out there. He can move on to bigger and better things. He can go back to his home country and play for a big club. Is that opened the door for him in his eyes? A lot of things maybe affecting the performances of Olivier Ntcham, because it has seemed like a long time since we've seen him at his best. I personally don't have an opinion on it. I like Ntcham. I still think that he's very young, a lot to do. We could maybe get his value up a bit, but a lot of people want him to go. So let me know in the comments. Let me know your opinion to all my suggestions in this video. As always, like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.